So I always like to start with some like good messages of like what positive messages, how does the universe see that you're doing right? And then I like to go into like what do you still need to work on? And I got this new deck, this Shadow Oracle deck, because this really gets you to dive into emotions that you're still not facing or that needs a little bit more tweaking. So the first one was betrayal. Look at that. Oh my god, even looking at these cards, I feel intense. So it says healing begins with acceptance and forgiveness. It says deception, treachery, backstabbing. So there's probably situations where you feel that you were betrayed by family, friends, relationships, whatever the case may be, is that you were in situations where you feel betrayed, right? You felt abandoned, you felt like not understood, you felt like people just literally did stuff that was like backstabbing, right? So you felt this betrayal, and you've been working through getting through that betrayal, being like, moving forward, going on with your life, doing the things that I mentioned above, so that you get over this betrayal, right? And I think that you have gone through this betrayal to a degree, but part of the way that you've gotten through this betrayal is by like just like kind of pushing those people out of your life and just not thinking about them, right? And but you have to get to that place where you accept the things, like you accept the that this has happened and it was all for a bigger purpose. It helped you grow, it helped you see things in a new light, it helped you become the person that you are today, where you're able to tap into your creativity, become your authentic self, that you these betrayals needed to happen, these connections needed to fall apart in order for you to become the person that you are today, right? If those didn't happen, you wouldn't be in the place that you are today. You would have stayed where you were comfortable, even though it wasn't comfortable because it was so like mentally draining. But it forced you to get out of your comfort zone and go somewhere and try something new. So but also you need to have forgiveness, and I think that's something that you really struggle with, is forgiving people who've done that betrayal. Instead you're just like, you release them, but actually forgiving. And forgiving doesn't mean you let them back into your life. Forgiving means like, hey, like, we're all kind of flawed humans, flawed souls that are just like learning as we grow, and society has made us, programmed us to think a certain way. So it's like these people are not necessarily bad people. They were just flawed, right? Like we all have our flaws. And unless you go on a thing of trying to be better, trying to work through it, then you're going to stay that flawed person. So it's like, be grateful that you've been working on being better. Yes, you have days where you feel frustrated and overwhelmed. You're not perfect. I've said a million times, but you're still working on being better. You're still getting up each day. You're still not giving up on yourself and on the others, on the people that depend on you, that trust you. So you faced a lot of betrayal, forgiveness, I said again, but you need to learn to forgive, because the only way you're going to really release those connections from your heart is when you forgive the things that they've done to you. Because even though you don't think about it, it's still one of those things that it will come onto your mind when you're not busy. I think that you don't think about it because you keep yourself so busy that you don't have time to think about it. You don't allow yourself to think about it anymore. You're just focused on how to make your life better and better, right? So, but you need to like release this betrayal by accepting that this happened for a bigger reason. It was all divinely orchestrated, and that you weren't the person that you were before. So you had a role to play in some of that betrayal as well. And forgive. Just let go and forgive the things that have happened. And then illusions. See that? And it says, seek reality even if it's raw and challenging. So it's so funny because I did a love reading, and the love reading was saying about illusions as well, but with the twin flame card. And this was like, how does the divine see you? So it's like, maybe sometimes you live in like an illusion, right? Like you live in like a fantasy world, and sometimes you need to come back and seek reality even if it's raw and challenging. So maybe you like to live in your imagination and see the possibilities of things, right? But you need to get out of that and see through the illusion, right? And seeing through the illusion, maybe be seeing through people, thinking that something can be when it's not, right? Seeing through people's masks. So sometimes it's like, maybe you think people are being raw and authentic with you, but they're not. They're putting on a mask to make themselves look good, right? Friends, family, relationships. And because you want to see the best in people, you don't see through the illusion. Even though your intuition is telling you like, hey, something's off, you're like, no, but this, and this is good, right? So it's like they want you to see through the illusions, even maybe illusions that you're putting up about yourself, in the sense of like that, I don't even know how to explain this, like see through the illusions of people, see through the illusions of anything is possible, everything is limitless, but see through the illusions that are holding you back from accomplishing that and going forth, right? Like, what illusions are you putting up in your mind that's preventing you from doing certain things? That's what I mean. And so it's like, seek reality. How can I realistically make this possible, even if it's raw and challenging? Dream big, but how can you reality take the day-to-day steps to make things possible for yourself? So, and look within, even if it's raw and challenging. Sorry, hold on. So it's like, see what things, like, and it says mirage, fantasy, deception. So see, make sure you're trusting your intuition to know like who's deceiving you. Like, are people telling you the truth, or are they just building up this fantasy for you, but they're really deceiving you, right? They're not going to follow through on their actions, right? And then look at yourself. What are you deceiving yourself on? Are you living in a fantasy and not taking the actions to make things happen for yourself? So it's like, seek reality. Always bring it back down to earth of like, how can I make this possible with all areas of your life, right? And then dependency, and find strength in self-sufficiency and empowerment. Reliance, neediness, addiction. So it's like, you probably released addictions. Maybe there's some addictions that you don't even consider addiction, but you still have. Like, it could be chips is one of your addictions that you haven't fully released, and that's something you need to look at and let go of. And maybe just this keeping yourself busy is an addiction, so that you don't have to face things, and that's something you need to work on, right? And neediness. So it's like, it's funny because in the Divine Masculine, when I did the love reading, it was saying that the Divine Masculine sees you as dependent, right? So it's like, you are a dependent person, but maybe there's times where you feel like you need someone in order to feel fulfilled, or in order to like, to get your life, get the ball rolling, right? Like, you want to be doing this life with someone else and not just doing it alone, right? So it's like, but find the strength in self-sufficiency and empowerment. Like, you've probably been on this hermit journey for a year or longer, and it's like, kind of like, you're like, that's why you keep yourself so busy, because you're like, you still don't feel maybe fully empowered that you're on this journey. You're like, I'm doing this because I have to do this. This is my reality. But you need to find the empowerment that like, this feels good. This is good that I get to do what I want when I want, and I get to make my life the way I want it, right? Like, it's not dependent on someone else anymore, right? So it's like this neediness of wanting love and being in love. And I think that you're transitioning out of that now, where you're like, if love comes, love comes. If I don't end up being with someone, I don't end up being with someone. Maybe 5-10 years you won't be with someone, and maybe then you'll be with someone. Like, you're at that point where you're transitioning out of that, but like, you still have this thing of like, wanting that divine partner, right? That partner to grow with, to grow old with. Like, you don't want to be growing old by yourself, right? Like, you want, and that's part of like a neediness, like needing someone still. So it's like, you are dependable. So it's like, stand in your dependableness. Like, you are dependable, but like, get out of that codependency. Like, you probably haven't been tested in a while with a relationship, so you're like, no, I'm independent, I'm good, I'm doing my own thing. But when you get back into that relationship, will you be codependent? Like, are you standing in your strength, where you feel like you're self-sufficient and you're empowered? Because it's like, if these are things you need to, shadows you need to face, because when the universe does send you love, you need to make sure that you don't fall back into the same patterns that you did before, right? Like, until you're tested with something, how do you know how do you know that you have overcome something? But you only know it if you're standing in your strength of being like, I'm good alone, like, I'm okay, like, I don't need anybody to add value to my life. I'm valuable on my own, and if someone comes into my life, that's just an addition for me. So make sure that you're like standing in your empowerment, work on that, making sure, like, that's why it's like tapping into your mystical powers, doing your creativity, that helps you to feel empowered. Just make sure you're consistent with it. Like, even on the days that you feel like defeated, try to do something like coloring in a book just to make yourself feel creative and empowered. Like, hey, this is fun. Like, I like this, right? So just work on that, right? And then stagnation. And you've probably been in stagnation for a while that you're feeling like, ugh, things are not progressing forward, but they are slowly. So it says movement, even if slow, is progress. Inactivity, standstill, rut. So there may be moments where you feel like you're in a rut. Like even now, you could feel like you're in a rut, that you're doing all these things, you're keeping busy, you're working on your creativity, you're working on your passion, but you still feel stagnant. You still feel like you're in a rut. You still feel like you're not going forward. You know, like you still feel like you don't know what the next step is, what the next thing to really do is, right? What community are you gonna join? What like how will you make your life more full, right? So it's like movement, even if slow, is progress. So keep progressing forward. You're probably working on your passion, but do other things to add things that you want in your life, right? Like make sure you're consistent with everything, all areas of your life, so that you don't get in the state of inactivity at a standstill where you stop working on things. Keep working on the things slowly. If some days you need to like not work on that and then work on this, then put your energy into that, right? Like find the balance of working on what you need to work on to make yourself feel like you're progressing forward. Slowly but surely you'll do it. Just make sure that you're not neglecting areas and only focusing on one area, like um, creativity. Like if you're just putting all your energy in creativity but you're neglecting other areas of your life, make sure you're working on the other areas of your life, getting better at those other areas too. Like for example, for me, like because I record videos, because I'm learning, because all this stuff, what area do I neglect? I neglect learning Spanish. I've been here for a year and I haven't been learning Spanish. If I had spent that year learning Spanish, even for 10, 20, 30 minutes a day, I would have been so much better with words, right? Like I would have been able to speak in sentences by now, but I keep neglecting that area because I feel like it's work to do, right? Like, oh, like, but once I get started, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in the ball of it. I'm having fun learning it. But just to get started, I'm like, no, I'd rather do this other thing. No, I'd rather work on this other thing. No, I'd rather do this. So it's like I've been neglecting Spanish when I wasted a year not learning it. So I need to devote time, schedule it so that I spent that half an hour or 2 hours. Now I need to give myself longer. But I'm going to start focusing on when the kids are in school in September, because I'll have more time to really own in on it. But that's, again, another excuse that I'm making, and maybe I won't do it in September. So it's like I need to get myself out of that rut of not learning it so that I can talk to these moms at the parties that I go to, right? So it's just like make sure that there's not areas that you're neglecting. Just because you're doing one good area, like doing your creativity, but you're neglecting other areas that mean something to you, that will add value to your life, that's progress, doesn't mean that you're doing quote unquote good. As bad as that to say, you're doing good, but you could be doing more that makes your life more fulfilling and not make you feel like you're stagnant in a rut, that you can't communicate with people because you don't speak the language, right? That's your fault. That's my fault that I'm not taking the initiative to learn the language so that I can meet more people and have conversations, right? So yeah, just focus on that. There's so many good things that you're doing that it's amazing, but there's just a few shadows that you need to work on and work through, and it'll just get you to a place where you feel more peace and more full. And it doesn't mean that it has to get done today. Just slowly it will get done by you putting your energy into it and seeing those shadows, right? So I hope this reading helped you understand how amazing you are and what things you just need to fine tune and tweak a bit. All right, Divine Feminine. Peace.